working on this new book. I would like to promote it for a second.
Please.
Oh, sorry, we're out of time.
Well, I just want to say one thing, okay, which is that this is not going to be, I talked to my agent and she said, Ethan, it sounds like you want to write a textbook on organ harvesting. And I said, no, I don't. And she said, well, don't. Okay, write about these adventures you've had. And I have a bunch of adventures to reveal and interesting stuff. And so I will write about that, though we'll have a lot of facts and so forth. I do believe that the China Tribunal wrote that textbook for me. And I'd also recommend people read Matthew Robertson's most recent report for Victims of Communism Foundation that was done. It's a very sort of state-of-the-art wrap-up of the field, and you can read it in a couple of hours. The Uyghur Tribunal would take you a couple of weeks. But there are some very good resources out there for people on that issue. I'd also recommend anything by Adrian Zenz is worth at least skimming. So anybody who has any questions on the forced labor aspects or the brute sterilization of Uyghur women, I think they should look at that stuff. Really profoundly good. And he just came out with a new report showing that the Chinese leadership gave all the orders for all these various programs. And it was absolutely conclusive. In fact, I had a very nice speech at the Uyghur Tribunal that day. It was the last day of the tribunal, about 10 in the morning. And I was really happy with it. And we had very good Q&A. And then at the end of the day, the last witness was Adrian Zenz, and he just came in and won all the marbles immediately. He just came in, and basically what they've been trying to do is put together a flow chart, because these are legal minds, right? They want a flow chart. They want to know how these things connected and how the orders were given. And he just came in and said, oh, yeah, I've got something coming out, major study on that tomorrow. And he just went through it very quickly. It's just...
Well, I'm actually pretty excited about this new book you're writing, because I know you've been on some pretty incredible adventures, particularly your trip to Kazakhstan, #1 exporter of potassium. And I think that would make a very exciting book for people to read.
No, it'll be a good book report.
Yeah. Hey, but Ethan, I've got some writing advice for you as an unpublished author myself.
Yes.
Is if you want a book that people are really going to read, you want your main character to be a young British wizard child, and he goes up against an evil sorcerer who's actually a Han Chinese supremacist who hides his Horcruxes in the organs of ethnic minorities.
Oh God, that got really bad very quickly.
Sort of a fan fiction.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about
it? Sounds like there's plenty of opportunity for eroticism.
Oh God!
Oh no, that's not what I was hoping you'd go towards. So Ethan, it's a unfortunately well-known fact that Chris had many years ago accidentally read Harry Potter fan fiction, believing it was
the real Harry Potter.
Real Harry Potter.
Yeah, I feel like that story had a bigger splash than anything we've done with China Uncensored.
Well, and that gets back to my point, which is really you should just write, Harry Potter fan fiction, but about organ harvesting.
When will your book come out? That sounds great.
The adventure book.
I don't know. We'll see. I have a few last things to tie up.
Such as rug shopping in Turkey.
Rug shopping in Turkey is one of them. There's some other stuff further east.
Oh.
But I should be able to wrap that up, and then we should be able to get through this year and then write this whole book. I'm trying to put a little bit out ahead of time. I'll be desperately promoting things afterwards, not because I make money off books, because nobody makes money off books anymore, ever. But there are some good stories. The one thing I want to just tell you about my internal thought process about this was what I don't want to do is take away from the victims. I mean, I never wanted to write about myself in any of my books. Well, I mean, recent, like The Slaughter, which really isn't about me. It's about the victims. It's about what happened to Falun Gong and what happened to people who did some terrible things on the other side and so forth. And I would love to preserve that discipline and that way of doing it But I also feel like I have some things to say about the investigative process for the first time. I'm an amateur. I'm not James Bond. I'm an amateur at this, but I have some things to say about how to pull it off because I've done it now, I think 3 times. And that's going to, hopefully that will add something too. And it'll also be kind of funny because it's amateurs. That's the point. You make a lot of mistakes as an amateur. You're very careful about some things, and then other things just give you away.
Well, it's okay to be the hero of your own story.
I'm not doing it that way, but I do feel like, part of putting the human back in human rights writing is to do that is you cannot just tell stories about people just as raw victims. You must add some other elements, something that gives them life and depth, right? It's just simply unfair to do that to people, to turn them into nothing but their victim experience. This is awful. It's a new kind of dehumanization.
I mean, we do that by adding bad jokes.
That just dehumanizes us.
But I do understand what you're saying, Ethan, because I feel like, sometimes when you interview somebody who's just like, they're used to just talking about like how they were tortured. And like that's like, it becomes like a speech that they have about how they were tortured, And then, yeah.
I mean, this is one of the victims. I mean, obviously there were Holocaust survivors who did that for almost a living in a way, and would come out and tell their stories, but it was very important that they kind of had to do it. But I've watched this with Enver Tohti, who you've had on your show.
No, we haven't actually.
Well, you really ought to. Enver Tohti is amazing, but you're going to see a funny thing that will happen when he tells his main story, which is about cutting out somebody's kidneys and liver while the man's heart is still beating, okay? Which is what he did. I mean, he was a surgeon. He was told to go bring a surgical team and come to this execution ground, and they did. And then he was told this man is still alive. And they said, yes, take out the kidneys and the liver. And he did. And, he's told that story so many times that he finds it very difficult to tell again and again. And I think that's to his credit. He doesn't like telling the story. He doesn't like reliving it particularly. He doesn't want to have to put himself in that emotional frame of mind. And he wants to be thought of as something more than just the guy who did this. And I think that's fair to expect that. So, but I do recommend him to be on your show very much. I mean, he's got a lot of interesting things to say about the Uyghur experience. And he's also one of the more critical people about how the Uyghurs have handled their own repression and their own... he's not even sure the Uyghur people are really a people, are ready to self-govern. And I think that's very distinct. That's something he said for years. It's very consistent. And I think it's something he believes. And it's very interesting to get that point of view. So
where can anyone follow you for updates about your book, what you're doing next?
No, I mean, I don't use Twitter. I just get in too many arguments. I'm afraid I'm very exclusive about Facebook and so forth, but I'll try to do something about that. And frankly, that's something we could have an off-piste conversation about at some point. And I'd be coming to you folks for advice.
Sure, we're social media masters.
Yeah, no, my advice is to write a Harry Potter fan fiction. So don't come to me for advice.
Okay, so
we need a spray bottle.
All right, so you'll let us know, and maybe we can also make some kind of announcement when your book comes out.
Yeah, I really do. There's another place, which is I'm going to be writing more regularly for Victims of Communism Foundation. There's a final thing, which is I hope to be coming out with a column, but this is in the works right now. This would be a monthly column, kind of on China or on one aspect of China. And so I hope to be doing that as well. Something, sort of 2,000 words every month kind of thing.
Very nice.
But I haven't figured out what's the right venue.
A column on a column. Take the chisel, go to the DC columns, chisel your column into a column. You'll get in the papers with that.
No, I'm very old-fashioned about this stuff, and I still feel like I ought to be paid $1 a word every time I write something. Yeah, I know you're laughing. I can
Getting
see it. You
paid
just
for
want to
work.
start laughing.
That's not something my generation understands. All right. Well, Ethan, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, let us know when the column starts coming out, and yeah, we'll definitely want to have you back on when that book comes out. That's exciting news. And please pick us up a rug in Turkey.
Thanks.
So, you guys feeling refreshed and uplifted?
Always after a conversation with Ethan.
Little Mary Sunshine.
That's true. You know, that reminds me. Somebody asked us on Locals recently, like, how do you deal with, like, how do you not get depressed thinking about these things all the time?
And what did you say?
I'm still thinking. But no, like it reminds me talking to Ethan, because Ethan, well, he's a ball of sunshine in many ways. We laugh, we make some jokes, and I think that's, some people might be like, oh, well, that's irreverent. And it's like, you can't. Yeah,
Those are people who don't watch our shows, though,
or who don't deal with this long term.
Right? No,
I mean, you do have to have, a defense mechanism and some kind of way to be able to, like, let it go, essentially, and not carry it around with you all the time.
Well, I consider our humor an offense mechanism. Because the best defense is a good offense.
There you go.
there you go. And some of our jokes are actually very offensive.
Like all the ones I cut.
Yes. Oh man, like that one. Oh wait.
Chris doesn't know about that one yet.
Oh, the abortion joke. Okay, we'll talk about it later.
No, don't. Oh.
Wow, that joke was killed before it even had a chance at life.
Oh boy.
This is how we managed to do this long term.
Yeah.